Welcome to Know It All Football, the podcast covering the latest news and stats in professional football. Here's your co-hosts, Michael Allen and Richard Cleveland.
Hello and welcome to Know It All Football. I'm your co-host, Michael Allen, and alongside me as always is...
Richard Cleveland. How you guys doing today?
They can't answer that, Richard.
Rhetorical. Thank you.
Were you asking me how I'm doing today?
Excuse me, Michael.
I'm doing about that well.
Unsponsored beer stop.
You know, I work at a grain elevator as my day job.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and as I was dangling from a rope, I can't say dangling.
Oh, but I can
as
imagine
I was
it.
tied off to a rope from my harness, literally sliding down the top of a bin today.
Wow, you're like Laura Croft.
I kind of felt like it, except with more poop in my pants. All I could think of was, I just got to make it home so I can come and do this podcast.
Wow. With me?
For the people.
With me. Thanks,
I
Michael.
Just want to make it clear I didn't state that.
Did you ever... It kind of smells like you didn't clean those poop pants yet.
That's for you to know and them to never find out. We're going to jump right into it this week. We have so much. We have upsets in the AAF. We have a shit ton of news in the offseason in the NFL.
Really? I haven't heard anything.
Oh, really?
What?
Oh, my gosh. Combine weekend, trade rumors. We're going to jump right into this here, though. So, in the AAF this weekend, I'm going to read off just in a list of scores. The Memphis Express got their first win of the season at home against the San Diego Fleet.
Much deserved.
The Apollos held off the Stallions in the snow in Salt Lake, Utah, 20-11. The Commanders dethroned the Iron, Shaka, 12-11 in Birmingham. And the Legends in Arizona beat the Hotshots 14-11. It was Aaron Murray's debut. Wow. All I really have to say about all of these, I'm just going to kind of cliff notes this real quick. San Diego Fleet starting quarterback Philip Nelson did go down, and it wound up being pretty severe. He had a broken collarbone for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, which isn't bad, I guess. For a 10-week season, yeah, but it could have been worse.
Yeah, hopefully he makes a speedy recovery for their game this weekend against Salt Lake. Mike Pervici,
Right. That sounds right.
We're gonna go with that. He has been named the starter. He has been.
So there goes your season. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But Zach Mettenberger put on, I think they've been calling it the Met Show.
The Met Show?
I think.
God, that's lame.
I would have to go back to Twitter.
That's lame.
But looked impressive.
Yeah.
Could actually move the offense. Scored a couple touchdowns. I do want to note the week prior, when he took over in the second half, their two scores his two touchdowns were both 30-plus yard touchdown throws that looked great. He did struggle in the first half of this game with the deep ball. I don't know if there was a win factor or what quite was going on. He just couldn't seem to get the ball there, but he did shore that up in the second half when they had their come-from-behind victory. I was very impressed because they were almost polar opposites of what they've been through their first 3 games, which is can start out strong and fade off. Where now, granted, in the second half they were playing what I guess would be considered their third-string quarterback. He started turning the ball over, and it was easier for Memphis's defense to shut their San Diego's offense down.
Well, you know what's funny? Zach Mettenberger, playing a game and a half so far? He's actually already third on the list for touchdown passes in the league.
And he's second only to Garrett Gilbert in passer rating.
Yeah,
Garrett Gilbert has got I believe it's an 83.1, and Zach Mettenberger is 80.6, I believe. Obviously those numbers are a little skewed because 4 games to 1.
Do you know who has the most passing touchdowns right now?
Garrett Gilbert. No, John Wolford.
John Wolford. Yeah, he has 8 compared to Garrett's 6, which is shocking to me. I mean,
so what's not shocking to me is Arizona's offense. It's big plays. I mean, that's really it.
Yeah.
That's all we've really seen them be productive. But with what you get with Garrett Gilbert, yes, it's also big plays. They do have a lot of big plays, but you also do get consistency. And that brings up my next topic. I want to go ahead and move on to the Apollo Stallions game.
Uh-huh.
Is Garrett Gilbert going to throw an interception this season? Because we're almost halfway through the season and none. Now, granted, I get it's not the NFL, but gosh, you have to appreciate it. No interceptions. I mean, he's never even really given you we really shouldn't have thrown that ball. I mean, he is just completely...
He's in control of what he really wants to do. As of right now, I would put him in the category of MVP of the league.
Yes.
I mean, obviously he has a supporting cast, but so does Patrick Mahomes in the NFL.
Yes.
And we still gave him the MVP.
Exactly.
So I don't know if they even do MVPs or...
And we'll see. I mean, we will.
Awards like that.
He's the only quarterback that, since after watching him the first game, I go, how is this kid at least not, backing someone up in the NFL?
Yeah.
I mean,
he deserves more than a practice squad for sure.
Yeah, he's showing me just everything you want to see in a quarterback. He can make quick decisions. He can call out audibles at the line. Yeah. I mean, he's doing everything.
Blake Bortles has had a job in the NFL as a starting quarterback up until,
Yeah, until now.
Now, but I mean, this guy shows a lot more potential. He shows that he can actually, get the ball where it needs to go.
Exactly.
I feel like Blake Bortles' name hasn't really even been on the list since, his first year where he made a little bit of a splash?
Well, Allen Robinson, if you don't remember, he was out not all of last year, but all of 2017. The year before that, he had 14 receiving touchdowns. So that helped a lot. When you have that guy that you just can trust in throwing the football out there, they're going to find a way to come down with it.
Yeah.
That helps mold a quarterback a lot, which is exactly why they brought him into Chicago. For a young developing quarterback, I want to be able to learn the trust to be able to throw this football, and you're going to come down with it.
Yeah.
Which Garrett Gilbert has. I mean, and he's got a good running game. It's definitely by far not the best running game in the AAF, but he's making his case.
Is he stuck in the AAF for the next 3 years then? Is that how that works?
No, so they can opt out of their contracts for the NFL, but that's it.
Just not the XFL.
Yeah, just not the whole 3 year was so they can quit and sign the XFL. They would hold the rights for that.
Oh, okay.
The Commanders Iron game, there was nothing exciting about it except for the fact of what I've been saying is the Iron can be exposed by a good team in this league. And I know they were 1-2, but the San Antonio Commanders are a good team. Logan Woodside had a game. He is still yet to prove to me, what quarterback are you? The turnover machine or the game manager?
Well, the Commanders are also first in their Western Conference now at 2-2.
Yes. So, yeah, the Western Conference is a little crazy. What is it? 2-2, 2-2,
1-2, and 1-3. Yeah.
And then there's 4-0, 3-1, 2-2.
Nope. 4-0, 3-1, 1-3, 1-3.
Yeah, that's what it is.
'Cause you got Memphis and Atlanta in that conference, so.
And then finally, we end here with the Atlanta Legends over the Hot Shots, 14-11. Like I had stated.
I think I called that one, actually.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, we called it for the wrong reasons. So I didn't think that they were going to start Aaron Murray. I know there's been a lot of flack for them to, and I didn't know if John Wolford was going to start. What's most shocking to me was that he did start.
Yeah.
John Wolford did start for them, and that Aaron Murray did start for Atlanta. And they were two totally different teams than what we've seen so far. He didn't overly impress me, but he did get
Murray?
a win. Yeah. You know, his stats don't jump off the table at you. I don't have them pulled up here. Right here at the second. I can get them pulled up. He had 254 yards. What was his... Did he have any touchdowns? It does not say. Matt Sims did have 33 passing yards. I did not actually get to watch most of this game this weekend. Unfortunately, you know, we try and get to every single game that we can, but life, you know, maybe one day when we're doing this for a living. But he managed the game, and he took his team down the field to set up the go-ahead win field goal. I did watch that part. So hopefully, you know, that trends upward. Same as Memphis. You know, hopefully they can trend upwards. I still don't see them being playoff teams, but I can, you know, maybe they can knock someone else out of the playoffs. You know, there's when you don't have a playoff picture looking for you, that's your next best thing. If you can take an opportunity to knock another team out of the playoffs, even if you're not making it, hey, that's almost a playoff. That's a playoff game to you. You know, that's all right. Here's our meaningful game. So this week coming up, we do have another TNT game. That's going to kick off the weekend at 3 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Eastern time, or apologize, 1 p.m. Central time. That'll be Orlando against Birmingham. A lot of people were hoping that Birmingham would squeeze out a win so we could
undefeated,
see, you know, which team is, you know, the better. Of course, it's Orlando. This one is in Birmingham, but for the first time, I'm going to take Orlando here by 2 scores. I'm going to take them 27-13.
Yeah?
Yes, I do think of all teams.
They haven't been scoring
most
a lot
prime
in the
time.
last 2 weeks, but
No, they haven't, but and
that
Birmingham's defense is
no slouch.
you beat me to it. No slouch. And this is probably going to be their best bet of getting a turnover on Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah.
You know, this defense has been a turnover machine. You didn't see it much last week, which, as I stated, proved a point for me for their offense that they thrive, which no offense wouldn't, but they thrive on the turnovers. That's what has made their offense look so good. You take those turnovers away, you take that short field away, all of a sudden, 2.1 yards per carry isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hoping one big thing that I want to see, I did go out of my way. The one thing I will always appreciate for any skilled player whatsoever is touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Trent Richardson can score touchdowns on the goal line. But
yes, he can.
What he cannot do is find a hole.
To get more than 5 yards at a time?
Yeah, at max. What is his long for the season? 6 yards? You gotta change it up.
He can punch it through, but they need someone who can actually get around the end and cut up the field.
So, should be interesting. I don't see that one ending very competitively.
I do have something I want to touch on real quick. I do have some of the stats of the quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers from this week. And the only quarterback that didn't actually score a touchdown would be Aaron Murray, but he actually had the most yards, which, you can't always get to the end zone, but that does show that he can drive down the field, especially going 20 for 33. Those aren't bad numbers. Zach Mettenberger scored 1 touchdown rushing, 1 touchdown passing. John Wolford just had 1 touchdown. He actually had the worst percentage on throwing. Let's see. And then we actually had 2 100-yard rushers. We had Kenneth Farrow with 30 carries for 142 yards. And we had Jarrell Presley for 14 carries for 110 yards. So those are pretty impressive, in my opinion. They didn't get any touchdowns. Just the Atlanta, Orlando, and those are the only ones that got touchdowns this week, actually, for the running backs. So kind of interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yes, it is. I kind of lost my train of thought there. I was winding up. I was sitting here staring at the next week's games and thinking about last week's games. Apologize about that, but no, it was. We're seeing more, I guess, consistent play. We're starting to see some of these players that are consistently coming out and putting up these decent numbers. You know, these offenses are starting
proving
to find
themselves in this league.
Identity.
Yeah.
That made me think of defense, and that made me think of Memphis's linebacker Drew Jackson. Wow. Let me pull up his stats here, because it was nuts. Drew Jackson had 13 total tackles, 4 for a loss, a sack, a forced fumble, and an interception. He was everywhere. Absolutely everywhere in this game. I said it before, and I will keep saying it. This dude is no slouch. Wow. It was fun to watch him. He is really taking command of that defense. So we're going to jump right back in here to the games leading up. So we have Orlando at Birmingham at 1 p.m. Eastern. That is on TNT. Once again, they did pick up another game, so that's good news. Saturday night at 7 p.m. on the NFL Network, we have Salt Lake at San Diego. This is really a toss-up for me. You have Salt Lake that's really trying to bounce back. You know, they had a good win against Arizona and then couldn't get anything going at home in the snow. You know, everything was in their favor. That was their type of environment. That was their field. Still couldn't get it done. But you do have San Diego with Mike Bervici. The guy is a turnover machine. He always has been. He was in college. He proved it in that first half of that first game. So maybe he's, with a couple weeks of sitting, he's calmed down. We'll see. If I have to choose, I'm going to choose San Diego solely because they're the home team. I'll pick them 15-12. Then starting off Sunday at 3 p.m. on CBS Sports Network, Memphis at Atlanta. So everyone was kind of hoping that Orlando would win, Birmingham would win, Atlanta would lose, and Memphis would lose. So we could see the battle of the undefeateds and the totally defeateds. But I have Memphis walking in and taking this one away from Atlanta. I have way more faith in Memphis's defense and Zach Mettenberger than I do Aaron Murray and Atlanta's defense. So I'm going to go ahead and take them 21 we'll go 11. No, I'll give them a 1 score. I'll give them 20-13. But I have Memphis on top in that one. You got any comments on Memphis over Atlanta this weekend?
Since you're taking Memphis, I'll play devil's advocate. I'll take Atlanta.
Always have to choose.
I'm gonna take Atlanta 11-14.
All right, and then to end the weekend, we have the middle of the packs and the middle of the packs. I'm really excited about this game. This actually personally is my favorite game of the weekend, and it is San Antonio at Arizona. You have two teams who are really trying to prove, They both played talent. They both won against talent. They both lost against talent, and have both lost against not very good teams. So I think this will be the deciding factor.
I want to say I like Arizona on this one.
You can't rule it out. I'm actually going to lean on San Antonio this week because their game plan, while it's not what would be considered sexy in today's football, it works.
Yeah.
Good defense. 30 carries for 142 yards. I don't care if he has a touchdown or not. 30 carries for 142 yards. You want to know what that immediately tells me that they have? Time of possession.
Yeah.
Best defense you can offer is to keep their offense off the field. And how do you do that? You have your offense on the field.
This is definitely going to be a running game because
they have won the time of possession in 3 of their 4 games this year. Granted, I know they're 2-2 or 2-2, but they're very good at clock management. They're very good at keeping the ball, getting their defense rested. So I'm gonna have to go with San Antonio, but I'm gonna go with another low-scoring game. I'm gonna go 15-13.
I take Arizona 20-11.
Oh, a 2-score game. Very bold. All right.
I do what I can.
Thought we were a team here, but I guess screw me. All right. So I think that covers everything for the AAF. We're trying to bring that down.
It was a very good week. This is really, once again, an example of you just have to tune in and watch. Honestly, we're going to do what we can to give you guys the coverage of it all, but you really just need to tune in as much as you can. Obviously, we can't watch every single game either, but we try to get as many in as we can. And I'm telling you right now, we never regret watching a game. It's good football.
Their viewership is going up slowly. I mean, it's not what it was the first weekend. They had over 1 million that first weekend. They're going up. They're around the 400,000 range on viewership, like when it comes to maybe per weekend, which compared to the NFL, I mean, that's a fly on an elephant's ass. I mean, that's nothing. I don't know. It is. Their attendance
More
last
than the
week.
CFL.
True. That is very
speculation. True. I don't really know the numbers for that,
but hopefully it keeps growing.
Yeah.
I don't want it to go anywhere. I do have a dear friend who one day, I promise, I will get on this podcast. He's not a fan. And hopefully I can get him on here to talk about that, and we can try and persuade each other either which way. Maybe he can make me...
He's not a fan of the AAF right now?
Not at all. Not at all. A lot of people haven't even... I mean,
given it a
the
try?
other podcasts that I listen to, they don't... One watched the Oscars, I think it was, that was on over the AAF.
Who watches the Oscars? You need to gain better friends. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yes, and a better podcast. But on to the NFL. What a combine weekend. So how about, what is it, DJ Metcalf?
DK.
DK Metcalf out of Ole Miss. I'd never heard of this kid. I don't watch the biggest amount of college football, but this kid, what do you have his
kid? He's scary.
I know, but we're getting older. He's like a kid. He what was it? I believe, let me pull this up real quick. He was 21 years old. He was 6'3" at 228 pounds. He did 27 reps on the bench press. He had a 40.5 inch vertical. 40 inches. 40 inches. Just standing there, jumping in the air.
So
40 inches.
How many?
40.5 inches. Insane. Destroyed the gauntlet. Had a 4.33 40 time. This dude has 1.29 body fat. So at 6'3", 228 pounds, I can guarantee you he looks way better than me at 5'10", 234 pounds. I know. Gained 4 pounds from the last time I said it on the podcast. Thank you, chicken fingers.
And fish sticks. I mean,
and French fries.
And as a wide receiver, he's this. And I mean, if you're a real football fan, obviously you've seen the picture of him shirtless and training and everything like that. The man's just a monster. He has a linebacker's body on a wide receiver. He's scary. And like all the memes out there, it's like heads or tails, it's our ball. Oh. Yes, sir.
So I think that skyrocketed him up. I think he's going to go late first round. I do. You know, when you look at this receiving core coming into this draft, which is pretty good. I mean, there are a lot of big body receivers in this draft coming up. He's going to be the guy you don't want to pass. You know, especially, you know, when you get towards the late rounds, there are a lot of teams who are at need for wide receiver. Big one, ding, ding, ding. I don't see him going all the way to 32nd, but the Patriots. I wouldn't rule out the Patriots trying to trade up, maybe 10 spots, maybe 15. I don't know if they can get 15, but, you know, maybe 10 spots, 8 spots to try and get someone like DJ Metcalf. Because they, like I've said before, they play money ball. You know, 4 of their 5 receivers are let alone free agents.
Yeah. 1
restricted. The rest are unrestricted free agents. You know, so you can't guarantee that any of them are coming back. And, of course, they're not. The Patriots aren't going to pay him any money. They don't pay anybody any money. They don't even pay Tom Brady any money.
Yeah, they convince all their players, hey, you might win a Super Bowl if you restructure your contract. So you think the DK will be picked up first round? Is that more of a football reason or a business reason? Do you think they would bring him in for the numbers, or do you think they bring him in for his skill? Because at this point, I mean, with all the hype he has right now, it might be about numbers games.
Well, and you have to look at it in the long term. So you don't
have to look at it long term, though.
Well, because you do. You do, because the price, even let alone from being taken first overall in the first round to 10th overall in the first round, is millions of dollars of what you're going to be paying this. Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, they have set amounts that they're allowed to even pay these kids anymore. So when you have someone who potentially could be as good as DK Metcalf, you know, I mean, do you want to pass on the next Antonio Brown? Do you want to pass on the next Odell Beckham Jr.? Which, by the way, both those guys were later rounds. Odell Beckham Jr. was taken in the second round. Antonio Brown, I'd have to look it up to make sure. I think he's like a 5th round, 3rd round.
I thought he was 5th or 6th, yeah.
Yeah, he was taken way back. So you're not seeing, you know, some of these guys you don't want to lose on. So what you have, and the reason why I say this, why teams may jump in the first, is with that rookie deal, in one sense you're saving money. Yes, you're getting the money saved. There you go. He's on a rookie contract. But you're paying him more, so the money issue when he's, you know, 4th year in, you pick up his 5th year option. He's not, you know, by then, when you're thinking long term, by the time that 4th year hits, you may have more cap space to give him the contract. And he may be playing, you know, because he's making more money than he would take in the 2nd round or the 3rd round, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But the only issue I do see is every team that has dire need at wide receiver also has dire need at edge rushers, pass rushers, which is, you know, I've seen some mock drafts that it is literally pass rusher or quarterback. The quarterbacks are taken in the first 10 picks.
Yeah.
So
the good ones.
I'm very excited because
maybe good ones, I guess.
More and more I keep listening, the more and more possibilities that could be happening.
Yeah. Well, this entire offseason is going to be definitely one of the biggest in recent history. So I just looking up that Antonio Brown when he was drafted, whatever, led me to something interesting. I actually want to bring up. This one is from ESPN, and it's 21 wide receivers picked before Antonio Brown in the 2010 draft, because Antonio fell to 195th pick.
Wow.
And it makes me look at this, and this was a draft class for wide receivers. I'm gonna name some big names here. There's only 21, but a lot of them are big names. We have, in order, starting at 22nd, Demaryius Thomas.
Okay.
Des Bryant.
All right.
I'm gonna skip a couple. Golden Tate.
Wow.
Brandon LaFell.
Okay.
Emmanuel Sanders. Eric Decker. We got.
So time out, just real quick.
Yep.
So the Broncos took all of their receivers that they've had for the past almost 9 years before the Steelers even came upon Antonio Brown. So continue on.
That's what it says.
No, I'm not doubting it. That's insane. That before Antonio Brown was even picked, the Broncos picked Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and actually, I don't know, was Eric Decker drafted to the Broncos? I don't even know if it says there. We may have to look that up. I know he was one time a Bronco, so I don't mean to cut you off. Continue on.
Good.
That's
You're good.
insane. That is completely insane. So go on.
All right. Let's see. Where was I at? Mike Williams.
Okay.
Skipping down a little bit because I've honestly never heard of a lot of these names, which is crazy. I mean, this is the...
Rich, how is that crazy? You're a Bears fan.
Okay,
Who
but
did
this
they
is
take
the
2015 at number 7?
I don't know.
Kevin White.
I try to forget that
Yeah.
every time. That was 15?
15 or 16.
That is regrettable. All right, so this is the
Yeah, this
four
was his fourth
players.
year.
This is the 4 wide receivers drafted before Antonio Brown. These are the ones right before him: Riley Cooper, Kerry Meyer, Carlton Mitchell, and Desmond Briscoe. How many of those have you heard of?
None.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and we could argue this all day. Tom Brady was taken in the 6th round. Russell Wilson was taken in the 3rd round. So that does happen.
Yeah.
But where I'm ultimately getting at with this is leading into my next
that
subject
just surprised me.
to bring up Antonio Brown and someone like DK Metcalf, because it has been reported, and I have a little bit of statistics right here. It was reported that the GM put out that any team trying to put in an offer for Antonio Brown needs to get it done. It is being reported by Ian Rappaport that they're pretty sure that a deal is going to be done by Friday.
Yeah.
Of course, the Steelers want to get him out before they have to give him his roster bonus.
Yeah.
He also denied what I think moved this along is when he publicly denied them an extension on to pay it to him. So now that being said, the Raiders statistically here, all right, they have 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
I did state, I don't know if it was last podcast or the one before, I was horribly wrong. The Colts do not have the most draft picks. The Raiders do. So I do want to correct myself on that. They just had the best ratio with 9 draft picks and the most cap space. But anyways, I digress. So here is the question that I heard a lot today. I listen to a lot of Sirius XM. Do the Raiders give up a draft pick, a first-round draft pick for Antonio Brown?
Why not?
Why can't you use one of those draft picks for DK Metcalf?
You can. You can use one of those, and then guess what? You have another one and another one.
Yeah, but you have number 4.
Okay.
So you have number 4.
DK's not going to go that far. They also have 4, 24, and 27. I believe is the right numbers.
It's 4, 24, and 27.
I cannot see DK getting drafted before then. Honestly, I think, and even if they wanted to, guess what? You can use the number 4 for Antonio. Hear me out. use the 24. I mean, really, if you give a team both of your first, because what do they really need other than that? I don't really know. I'm just kind of thinking right now, if you really want a DK, move up in the class again, or you might be able to give your 24 and 27 for Antonio Brown or something of the sort. Keep your number 4. And I mean, where are the Pittsburgh Steelers on in first round? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head. I can try and pull that up here. But
So I mean,
my
if
rebuttal
you
with
let
that
them, if you let them trade up to number 4, for you, whatever, maybe you give them a good pick at number 4, and then you get Antonio Brown, and I don't know. There's a lot of options, but I don't see why you don't try to get Antonio when you have 3 first rounders. There's gonna be more players before Antonio goes south on his skill level to be able to pick up. And there was a interview, or a video rather, of John Gruden praising Antonio Brown, not even for his wide receiver skills, but for his dedication. And he said that he is the hardest working player he's ever seen in practice. He said there's no player he's ever seen that works harder than Antonio Brown in practice, everything like that. So.
And Derek Carr did come out publicly, I think, either knowingly or unknowingly, kind of being a spokesperson for that team, saying that they would open up with open arms to bring Antonio Brown in.
And he's been in the league long enough that he could take the heat.
I've heard it both ways. John Gruden won't put up with his antics, but John Gruden, I've heard, can put up with his antics.
Exactly.
Because he is John Gruden. I don't know how much of this is going to carry over to the new team. I think a lot of this is his big issue of him not wanting to be
a Pittsburgh Steeler.
That's what I think it is.
It kind of makes me also wonder is, because, and we'll get back to this when we do talk about who's going first overall, but would John Gruden be talking AB up for the fact that, okay, well, if you talk him up, maybe some people will
jump at and get him.
Exactly, and then that opens up a lot more opportunities for you, because now they spent all their money and everything like that on AB. Okay, now you have free agency open. Now you have more drafts open because you have 3 of them to pick up.
Yes.
So it really depends on what, and you can't really put anything past Gruden because he's been in the organization so long that he knows all the tricks.
Yeah.
So is he being serious? Is he really extending out his
offer
to Antonio? Like, hey, dude, we really like you. We really like your work ethic. We can get you. We can acquire you. We have the money. We have the needs. We have everything we need to get you. We like you. Come to us. Or is it like, hey, he's really awesome, everybody. Go get him.
Well, and that's what they've said for years, right? If you really don't like someone in the draft, what do? You talk them up. You talk them up. You talk them up. And because you want someone else to take them, so the guy you really want, who you've been trash talking the entire time, falls down to you.
And if you really love someone, you trash talk them as much as possible. You get other people to trash talk them, because guess what? Now everyone's gonna be like, should I? Nah, maybe no. And then that person falls. The only problem is, that kind of messes with the young player. It makes them, you said earlier, that drops them millions and millions of dollars.
Rich, this is a good segue. I want to go ahead and, since we're talking on this topic, there was news put out by, do you remember the guy's name, Charlie?
Charles
Weber.
I said it to you earlier.
I don't. Yeah.
It was a weird name. Yeah, but he's an analyst.
Yeah.
But he tried to be a reporter, I guess.
So, he put out on NFL Network today on Hot Takes, coaches, anonymous coaches.
Charles
and of
Casserly.
The 10, he said at least 3 for sure. I can't state who. Completely trashed Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
He bombed every interview that he was in. He had very little football knowledge.
Leadership
qualities. all this sort of stuff.
And then he said whoever was supposed to train him for interviews
Failed him miserably.
Failed him, yeah, because they need to be trained. Okay, well, are you mad that he didn't get trained for the interview, or are you actually mad that he isn't a good fit? Because, and one thing I heard that was very interesting to me that actually speaks a lot more levels to me than anything Cashley would have said there was during interviews that they were doing for Kyler Murray back by the Super Bowl time, Baker Mayfield actually called him multiple times to make sure he was okay, make sure he was doing good. Baker Mayfield isn't one to just be buddy-buddy with anybody, and he's not, and he sure as hell's not going to support someone who he doesn't give a hell about.
Exactly.
So for Baker Mayfield, and I heard it was 3 times in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just to make sure he was cool, calm him down a little bit, because it's new for, and Baker, he was made for this. Kyler, he might not be made for this, but he is a damn good quarterback.
Yes.
So for someone like Baker to call you and do that, that shows a hell lot of respect for Kyler Murray. And to me, that speaks a lot of volumes versus what some analyst says.
I've heard countless interviews with a lot of Oklahoma players.
Yeah, that loved him in the locker.
That went on the show all through the combine. They couldn't get enough on any talk show that they could of getting Oklahoma players that were there for the draft to talk about Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And not one of them. Now, I don't know. You can make the argument that I'm sure all of their agents said don't talk bad about Kyler. But at the same time, I mean,
someone's gonna.
Yeah. If there's
a
that
Baker
type of
Mayfield
issue,
in every.
if you have someone on that offense other than Kyler Murray going, oh yeah, this dude doesn't know shit. You think out of all of them that were in this draft or could potentially be in this draft or have played with him would have mentioned something?
Yeah.
That's where this loses a lot of credibility with me. Is okay, you're the only one saying this. No other players that have played with him.
Yeah.
No coaches. No one has come out and even hinted at this.
And why would he not go for the baseball contract at that point? If he knew that he didn't have the skill to be in the NFL, if he knew that once he showed what he had, he was going to get... Because at this point, he's going to be making more money in the long run. If he didn't think he was going to make it in the long run, he would have went to baseball. Okay?
Where he can make a lot of money.
He can make a lot of money in a little bit of time.
$330 million in 13 years. So, yeah.
Yeah. So,
but hey, Bryce Harper wants to bring a championship to Washington. I don't know if you saw that or not. One of his first interviews, as he slipped up there. Yeah, he messed up. I did have to throw that out there, but good old Bryce Harper.
Yeah,
I'm really glad he's not a Cub.
And I mean, so the thing is, I seen a few weeks ago, probably a couple months ago now, there was an interview saying that Carson Wentz had a lot of people talking shit about him in the locker room, saying he wasn't a very good leader, he's an asshole, pretty much all that, but no proof ever came of it. Yeah. Do you think that's on the same level, or do you think that
I think there's a little more credibility to the Carson Wentz
being an ass,
and it's not as much as being an ass. It's something which he addressed. Selfish. I'm not one to ever advocate. Ever. Don't ever try and play hurt. Don't ever try and whatever. But to just give up reins to your team 2 years in a row, and their issue was showing no emotion about it. There was no fire under him.
Yeah.
He was just like, yeah, man, you go take them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you take them and try and get this mess into the playoffs. And that's where I'm really pushing for Nick Foles, especially to land in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Because he did it twice. He brought the first championship to the Eagles organization ever. How many Super Bowls have they even been to before that? 2, I think. And Donovan McNabb, arguably probably their best quarterback of all time, statistically, could only ever get them there once.
Yeah.
And they lost pretty bad.
See,
to the Patriots.
Yeah, I definitely see your point. Like, he's no Big Ben where he broke 3 fingers and was still in the game. Just put a cast on it. He was, let's see here, Matt Stafford, who dislocated his throwing arm and was like, you know what? I'm in for this one. Hold on, I'm good.
Let me throw
Boom.
the 2-point conversion
Boom.
for the win. Yeah.
And then he's like, "Yep, all right, I need medical attention. This thing is out of place." There's a few other Aaron Rodgers even getting doped up against the Bears week 1.
Yeah, but
from
it
his knee.
shows that there's the one little glimpse, and there's a silver lining with it. And that's why I say I don't ever want to advocate for someone to play injured.
Yeah,
I never do.
But they at least want to try.
That is a leadership quality in the fact that you can't, especially when games are on the line, playoffs are on the line, seasons are on the line. You can't take me out of this game. Carson Wentz showed that the season prior. He tore his ACL and then threw a touchdown on the very next play.
Yeah.
Then went out of the game.
And that's when I really fell in love with Carson Wentz.
Because, he's tough. I've said this since, I've said this since he came out of the draft, though. Injuries are worrisome for me. He has spent a lot of time injured.
Has he played any year not being injured yet?
No. He's been injured.
I feel like he's been in the league for so long, but it's only been a few years, and
I think
we haven't seen him very much.
No, and that. If I was,
has Russell Wilson ever missed a game?
Not off the top of my head.
And he's small. I mean, so what's going on? Is it a Philadelphia training staff thing? Because didn't Jay Ajayi get injured pretty bad too? And
throughout history, that I've seen that before. Some teams. I hate to.
Alshon got injured too.
I always hate to bring it up because but that's kind of a personal history of his. I feel. And I hate to bring up the Bears just because we are Bears fans, but we've gone through from this year having the least amount of players on IR from the year prior where we had the most for 3 consecutive years. But mentality is a lot of that too. You're not going to play as hard. You're not going to, all of a sudden your bruised elbow becomes a sprained elbow because you're like, man, we're 3-9. Like what? Why? I get my base salary. I'm not going to, there's no incentives here. Don't worry about it. So, and we'll see.
Anyways, back to Kyler Murray?
Yeah, so back to Kyler Murray. Which also is ultimately bringing up this next topic. I don't think what that guy said, Charles, what was it?
Castlery?
Whatever his fucking name is. I don't think he has a lot of weight. I think there's an agenda behind that. I think there's a team or teams wanting him to fall. And I think that's why news is being put out.
Well, apparently he was an analyst for the Jets for a while. And that's one of the talks is maybe he's in cohorts with the Jets.
Oh, why? Sam Darnold's going to be just fine.
I don't know.
Maybe that's an Adam Gase thing. New head coach of the draft class last year. There's Baker Mayfield, who I think will be the most successful. I actually have him on a very exciting list that we'll get into here in a minute. But right behind him is Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold will have a nice, good career with the Jets. I think you'll finally see the Jets start turning around Sam Darnold, and they can build a team around him. The coach change, I don't know about Adam Gase. It was a dumpster fire, but in Miami. But you had Tannehill for the last 7 years there, with there was no competition at quarterback, never.
And no progress either.
No, and so you had this mediocre, constantly hurt player.
Hey, they beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
All right.
You're going to get one every once in a while when you play them twice a year every year.
Okay, quick question. Where's Kyler going? What number in the draft is he going?
Number 1 overall.
You think that they're going to be trading... do you think they're trading their pick, or do you think that they're trading Josh Rosen?
I think, regardless, they're taking Kyler Murray overall. He's going to become a Cardinal.
Okay, so Arizona is sticking with their... Because you said they're going to trade last week.
Well, I did state that was one of the most absurd mock drafts that I could find.
So you think that Arizona is keeping their number 1 draft pick, and with that number 1 draft pick, they're picking up Kyler Murray.
Yes, and
ultimately trading Josh Rosen.
Yeah,
away.
And I saw an interesting article. It was the same person, and I can't think of their name off the top of my head, so I do apologize, that thought Colin Kaepernick would be a great free agent signing for the Patriots. They think that Josh Rosen would be a great trade. His value is 4th round. So they were open that he is officially on the trade block, and so far, it seems like his worth is about a 4th round draft pick. So
so I haven't seen it anywhere, but I don't see why it would be a problem. Why couldn't he go to the Packers? Because, and my only thinking about that is, Aaron Rodgers really favored Josh Rosen.
Yes.
During their draft and offseason and stuff like that. He was like, this guy reminds me a lot of me.
Yes.
This guy's very good. I like him. I can really see a talent in him. Sit him behind Aaron. What's wrong with that?
Yes. So that was kind of the idea when they traded for Deshaun Kaiser, correct? They did that last year. Aaron Rodgers knows, Green Bay knows, he's not getting any younger. He's 35 years old?
At least, yeah.
And his body, he's put his body through a lot worse than what Tom Brady has. You can't sit here and tell me and convince me in any way that Aaron Rodgers is going to play until he's 41 years old. He's just not going to do it.
No, because you already see a decline.
Yeah,
you haven't.
do.
You haven't really seen a decline in someone like Tom Brady. I forgot Tom Brady's name. I'm sorry.
Oh wow, yeah,
I should have just said bah, I guess. But in Aaron Rodgers, you've seen that sometimes he can't do what he used to be able to do. His body can't take as many hits as he used to be able to take. So why not put someone that he personally thought could really be the next him? He hasn't showed it, but
the only thing which I haven't heard anything on, it hasn't come out at all, is you got to remember. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers likes him, but Aaron Rodgers would be retiring. He would be taking over. That doesn't mean diddly squat when it comes to Matt LaFleur. Does Matt LaFleur think he can work with Josh Rosen? Josh Rosen is undersized. He doesn't have the athleticism that a lot of these quarterbacks have. Does he have the throwing strength? He's got, he's a statue in the pocket. Granted, a lot of that also came with the fact, as we put earlier, there were no weapons around him.
Yeah.
There was no real offensive line around him. They have a lot to turn around, and this is where I also agree. I know you just took this kid last year, but if you're completely cleaning house, typically, one of the first things to go after when you're picking over 1 overall is your quarterback.
Yeah.
And I say this because look at what the Browns did. Everyone can make an argument, well, they didn't have weapons, they didn't have whatever. Look at what the Browns did with Baker Mayfield. They went and got a first overall quarterback. And what did he do? Yeah, they didn't make the playoffs, but they had more wins last year than they've combined in the last 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were a win away from staying alive and knocking Baltimore out of the race. And at the prime time, with such a competitive division, they were relevant for the first time in years.
And with the
that was brought in. That was with firing your coach midseason. Yes, they brought in some free agents like Jarvis Landry, but Baker Mayfield, once he took over for Tyrod Taylor,
Well, with the Steelers
You know,
also losing Antonio Brown, I'm not trying to say that it's the biggest impact, but it's a big impact.
it is.
Does that give the Browns more of an advantage? I mean, does that boost the Browns a little bit? I mean, now they have a chance to be able to be like, you know what, we could be mid-tier conference. You know what? Why not?
I will stand by this until it is
Proven
the end
wrong.
of next season, and I hopefully am not proven wrong. This is going to be the Browns and Baltimore's and the Ravens division will lose. One of them two teams will be the division winner next year, and I don't even have Pittsburgh going 500. They have a locker room issue.
Well, next year's going to be Big Ben's last year. I guarantee it.
And could very well be Mike Tomlin's last year. They've done well.
They don't like to fire coaches there. They've had
I know.
what, 4 coaches in the past 50 years?
I know, but they also like to win Super Bowls. And what have they not done since Antonio Brown has been there?
Win a Super Bowl.
Or been to a Super Bowl. So that speaks numbers too. But as we're wrapping up the podcast here.
Already?
What are we at here? We're at a good bit of time. We're almost at an hour.
Oh, wow.
Rich brought up to me today at a very short-lived time to prepare for. So
Just
thank
like
you,
last
Richard.
week, you're welcome. I'll keep it up.
What are what
I'll
do
ask
I
it. I'll
think?
ask
All
it.
right, yeah. So you go ahead here.
So, with being 2019 now, I was thinking in 2030, we'll all be old and wrinkly.
Mainly you.
Mainly me, and
I'll
I'll be
find
all
the cure.
gray.
I'll find the fountain of youth by then.
So, my question is, in the NFL,
I'll be young, skinny,
just
sexy.
the NFL, what are some bold predictions? What do you think is really going to happen, or what do you think would be just a big news article come 2030 of what has happened from now till then?
I'm going to start off with this.
Go on. And I also
So I have the
Top
next
5.
11 Super Bowls winners.
Next 11.
Well, in no particular
Yeah.
order, besides the fact that I'm going to go ahead and say this because everyone's going to hate it, and that's why I want to say it. Patriots are 2019 world champions. They win back-to-back. Tom Brady retires. I think after this season, if the Patriots win the Super Bowl, Tom Brady retires. Personally, I do.
Personally, yes. Okay.
But now I will continue. I'm going to go along this list, and like I said, it's not in any particular order, but I have it by 2030, I have the Patriots winning 2 Super Bowls, one with Tom Brady, one without. And the one without Tom Brady is when Bill Belichick retires. I have the Chiefs winning a Super Bowl. I also have the Rams winning 2 Super Bowls. And I have that actually pretty close here. I'm talking in the next 5 years. I have them winning 2 Super Bowls. And I'll get into this. I have the Raiders, the Bears. I have the 49ers winning 2 Super Bowls. And that's what I said. I'll get into this. And I have the Giants and the Browns, both being Super Bowl champions at one point. I have notable names who I think will all be on a list for towards the end of their career. Everyone will be talking about Hall of Fame in no particular order once again. I have Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, Roquan Smith, Darius Leonard, Eddie Jackson, Denzel Ward, and Baker Mayfield. I think they will be, and there are obviously more. Like I said, I did not have a lot of time to prepare for this. But I think they will be the players remembered for this decade coming up, the 2020 through 2030 decade in the NFL. And I think they're all, even though they all are, 1 or 2 years into this league, very young, I think they've all made that case so far. They're already on a pace to why would I not end in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
If they can keep up the level of play that they're already playing at such a young age. Now, I want to retract back here to the 49ers winning 2 Super Bowls. This is solely going off of, I've heard a lot, clearly haven't seen it yet, but, I wasn't old enough to appreciate Bill Belichick. I wasn't watching as much football in the early 2000s that I obviously do now. Excuse me. Everyone is calling Kyle Shanahan, the next Bill Belichick. They think he's a genius. Everyone that's worked with him thinks he's a genius. And if he's lined up with Lynch with his, as his GM, and I think it's just going to click. They're always like, hey, I think they're going to be pretty good this year. And then like this year they were hit with the injury bug again. Jimmy G went down. But they're kind of slow. They're always that sleeper. Every year since he's been there for the last 3 years, well, don't rule out 49ers. And especially the way they ended last year with Nick Mullins under center. They were the team to beat. The record didn't show that, but what did they go on? A 4-game winning streak? It was like a 3-game winning streak there towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
That the Bears snapped. I was that was one of the most nerve-wracking games going into, besides the Rams game, for me last year as a Bears fan.
Yeah.
Because I was like, they could ruin, what seed we have, whatever, going into the playoffs. No matter what, we were going to the playoffs by then, but it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, you had to watch, yeah.
And yeah, I think by then, another one, Roger Goodell will be gone. That's a lot sooner than later. I think we will see a strike again in the NFL. Once again, sooner rather than later.
By
players.
For...
Yes. One of the topics I do believe, I don't think it'll solely be over this, will be over marijuana use, marijuana and the drug testing for the NFL, which, I mean, this is me personally, but why are you testing for that? Why can't they smoke pot?
Yeah. Yeah.
You used to have players fucking
That's not
taking
going to
shots,
boost their...
taking shots on sidelines and smoking cigarettes after the offensive drive, not too long ago. So if they want to go home, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Boost your
I don't want you
abilities.
to be able to go out partying and getting super high and driving, same as drinking or anything of that. I don't condone any of that, but I don't see any reason why, like, here we can sit here and drink a beer during the podcast. Why can't they go home and smoke pot after a football game?
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Especially, because football puts a lot on your body, too. And if they want a little bit of relief from their mind and their body, why not? Neither of us smoke. But neither of us against it.
Yeah. Another one, I think will be in on that strike is the franchise tag.
Get rid of it, or?
Yeah. The franchise tag was invented to save quarterbacks. If a team didn't want to lose a quarterback but was a year away from having a lot more cap space, they could franchise tag him. It was created and not even used for the first 7 years.
Really?
And now it's turned into this franchise tag. You can prove it one more time. Or, like the only good case of what it was invented for that you can even argue is Kirk Cousins. Now, I get in one aspect where some of these players hate the franchise tag.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to have a job next year. Could you imagine going into your employer tomorrow and be like, look, here's the date. Here's the review. We'll pay you till next year. But this date next year, I don't know. You may have to go find another job.
Yeah.
And that's, I can't imagine that, not being nerve-wracking. And the other aspect, if you're a good football player, you're playing good football. That's actually the most money you'll make. We've listed off some of the prices that they pay for the franchise tag. It is not cheap. A franchise tag quarterback this year.
Is it the average of the top 5?
Yes, it's the average of the top 5 players in the league.
Well, players of that position.
Of that position in the league, yes. Yeah. And it's only ever going up because, as you see every year, these
Biggest
big contracts are
yeah.
always going up because the salary cap is increasing because they're, inflation, and that's a whole nother aspect of it. But I think that's another thing that'll be brought up into a strike.
Okay.
And I think it'll be a strike that will dip into the regular season. Maybe not like it was, when like the UFL and stuff were around that year when, the NFL was locked out. But I think they'll want big changes. I don't really have, off the top of my head, once again, didn't get to prepare for a question like this. Questions like this are usually nice, Rich. I just want to give a good tip here on air. Maybe like the Thursday, the day after the podcast we had. Like, maybe we should talk about this next week.
Nope.
So I can really prepare for it.
Maybe I'll think
Not
of one question for
hours.
that and then one for the Lightning.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We'll see. Go on.
That's the thing. I don't know if I really have any other bold predictions. What do you have written down there, Richard?
For my bold predictions.
All right.
I was about to say don't. I didn't like any of that.
For my bold predictions,
Slouch.
I have Pat Mahomes winning 2 Super Bowls and getting 3 MVPs of the league. I don't see why not. I do not see why not. And not a lot of players can get like the MVP of the league that many times in a 10-year span. I mean, Tom Brady, because
Peyton Manning.
Because the way that they do it is,
Aaron Rodgers.
it's not just you being amazing, it's you being so amazing that all the expectations of you were just destroyed.
Now, I'm going to state this short term because I know how incredible of a season that he had. That's the other thing. He had an incredible season.
Mm-hmm.
So typically with young players, do you only go up? It's like, what do you define as a decline for him now? What if he only throws 49 touchdowns last year?
Yeah, he needs to throw another 50, 55,
now,
60.
Well, so is he now not in the MVP, talk because he threw 50 last year, but he only threw 49 this year?
Yeah.
Or what if instead of throwing for 5,000 and it was like 39 yards, he throws for 4,998 yards?
Yeah.
So which is also incredible. You can't take away from that. Everything he did was phenomenal this season, but he has now set that bar so high that any little thing below that is going to be him declining.
Yeah.
That is something. Now that's a lot more short term. I'm really talking next season instead of the span of over 10 years, but because I'm gonna call that out. I don't think he has the same stats next year that he did this year. I don't. I mean, you're talking
record-breaking almost.
Yeah.
Seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not going to keep that up. Yeah, I know the NFL is changing, but you can't. There's going to be some grog in that. There's going to be some, now because a lot of benefit that they had was Patrick Mahomes kept showing people what they didn't know.
Yeah.
He kept going like, watch, I can do this. I can literally throw passes without looking. I can literally have 2 defenders dragging me to the ground, and I'll just switch the ball to my left hand and throw for the first down. I can run around in a circle on 4th and 26, and off my back foot being tackled, throw for the first down to keep a game alive.
Are you trying to make me fall in love with him more?
I'm just telling you that try and replicate that. Try and make that every year.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So
you're right, okay?
Yeah.
Stop it. You're hurting my feelings now.
So go on.
So, being a Bears fan, and I see them winning or going to a Super Bowl, not winning. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I see them going to the Super Bowl and not winning. And we're gonna move on past that because it makes me sad to even think about. I don't know that's what I think about. I think that the XFL will not be a thing anymore by then.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I think that the XFL will flare up and burst before the 10-year mark.
Actually,
I think they'll do that before the 5-year mark, honestly. But Definitely the 10-year mark for me. I think that the fields will be more digital. I think that they'll put sensors in the ball, and I think they'll put sensors in the field. That first down line that you see on the screen, I think that they could honestly probably put that on the field. And if not put it on the field, they could easily mark where that ball is to help. I mean, because right now, what do they have? They have sticks and chains.
And eyesight of line judges.
Exactly. So, and with all the advancements that they have nowadays, why not? Why can't they put more digital into it?
I can tell you on the first down lines why they didn't have that originally, because the technology technically is there. And I could use it as an example to put it, kind of a sight in your mind, like a laser leveler.
Uh-huh.
But the problem was they would have to keep them so close to the field and so high up off the ground because of the grass or the turf that line, is now 4 or 5 inches up off the ground, and it's so close out to the field that it could be just as easy for the running back to run out of bounds and step on that sensor, and then you just broke thousands of dollars in equipment.
Yeah.
And I'm not ruling out that's a really good, a very real possibility that actual equipment could be evolved in the next 11 years for that. I do agree with you there, but
because I imagine most fields are going to be all turf, so
that
it's
has
going to be
been
easy.
tested.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just right now, that technology is.
Do you think that by then, I honestly think they should have it by next year, that they'll have a referee in the booth, virtually seeing what we see.
Yes.
And telling and being able to tell the judges on the field, the refs on the field, hey, pick that flag up. Hey, throw that flag. This is a penalty. This isn't a penalty. We see this.
If only one thing is to be taken away from the AF, even if it crumbles and falls and any spring football dies, whatever, the one thing for sure that's going to be taken away is the sky judge. The sky judge is going to make its way into the NFL.
It has to. It's
going to. There's no... Mel Kiper is great, and it's nice to be able to call him from New York as soon as, the review is done. But...
We need live coverage of, hey, that was that literally changes games.
Yes.
And I think the Saints game is going to be one of the biggest reasons why it happens. Honestly.
Oh, I should have added that to my list too, because that's one.
What's that?
I don't think that in that 10-year span, or even here soon, we're going to see anything when it comes to being able to review penalties and challenge penalties. I think that's absurd, personally, and I don't think it'll happen. I don't even think that play warranted enough to be able to do that. I don't. I still think what that comes down to, personally, is you need to take a look at the officials that you're hiring. Because all that does, when you're allowing that, where it's like, okay, well, they can challenge anyway, so I'm just going to call this. You're lowering the standard for the officials that you have on the field, which you never want to do.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because it's already poor. We never really bounced back on officials after the strike. Seriously, it was like, well, we'll get this done. But it seems like they kind of kept the same guys, so
yeah. What do we got for time here? What are we at?
We should probably end.
Well, real quick, something we were talking about off air that I wanted to bring up to you. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes in the next 10 years and everything like that, Michael, you were stating that who should they pick up? You were talking about Le'Veon, weren't you?
Yes, Le'Veon.
Because I saw a rumor saying Le'Veon.
It wasn't. Yeah, you'd seen the rumor, and I was like, oh, they need a running back.
Yeah, and my thought was they don't have enough money to pay Le'Veon, and so he questioned that. Well, my thinking is, okay, Patrick Mahomes is going to need a big contract soon
in 3 years.
3 years.
His rookie deal ends in 3 years with his 5th-year option.
Jeez. But I'm sure they're going to try to work something.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's going to.
That.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to work something before, just because they don't want to lose that guy.
No.
Travis Kelce, he's going to want big money because he is proven to be one of the best tight ends.
He's top 5 tight
in
end
the league. You already paid Sammy Watkins $16-17 million a year.
$16 million a year.
And he is number 2 in your roster for wide receivers. So that brings up the big money.
Depends on what part of the season that you're talking about, but yes, go on.
But you have Tyreek Hill, who is, in my opinion, no argument, the best receiver on their team.
I think he's the best overall.
He is one of
skill player.
He is one of the fastest players to ever play in the NFL.
Yes.
And he does catch balls that come to him.
Yes.
So you have the most powerful arm, one of the most powerful arms ever to be in the NFL.
Okay, ever. Yeah, one. I thought you were going to say, I would go as far right now, not of all time in the NFL, right now, the most powerful arm on the field.
So one of the most powerful arms ever to play in the NFL in Patrick Mahomes with accuracy. Yes. Scary accuracy.
Yes.
And one of the fastest players to ever play in the NFL. That combination obviously is one of the big reasons why they were so successful.
Passing yards, right?
Exactly. Yeah. He's going to want the money. So, and he's going to want more money than Sammy Watkins gets. And so I'm thinking $20 million a year is what he's going to want. So you can't afford someone like Le'Veon Bell to come in and be like, because he dropped out of Pittsburgh because he wasn't getting enough money.
It wasn't just the amount of money per year he was making. Yes, he wants a lot. It was they kept giving him 1 year.
They can't pay for 3 wide receivers. That's all I'm saying. And he wants wide receiver money.
Le'Veon Bell is going to learn he's not going to get wide receiver money. He's not. He's a year out of football. He's got the off-the-field antics. He can want all he wants. But once he starts really seeing these offers and it starts getting to playing time, if he really wants to play football, he's going to take lower money. 2, no team's going to offer more than 3 years. He's 27 years old. He's a year out of football. Yes, he's been great, but he's 27 years old, and there's only been one running back in the history of the NFL to rush for over 1,000 yards after 30, and that is Frank Gore.
Frank Gore is amazing, though.
Yeah, but is Le'Veon Bell Frank Gore?
No.
Well, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but he's not Frank Gore.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm saying that because the Chiefs, all right, so I said earlier, because I don't, and by the way, I don't think this will happen. I don't think Le'Veon Bell becomes a Chief. I don't. I really don't.
I still think he becomes a Jet or something.
Yeah, I think the Jets is still probably the best landing spot for him. But I like big. No, but I will end it on this. If Le'Veon Bell becomes Kansas City Chief, I will retract what I said about the Patriots because they're. Well, I know defense wins championships, but at that point, because you add Kareem Hunt back to that offense, a couple of those games could have been very, very different.
Yeah. And
it could have been a Monday Night Football rematch, Rams-Chiefs in the Super Bowl instead of Rams-Patriots. But
you digress.
I digress. So, once again, thank you for listening. Make sure, if you haven't, to follow us on social media at Know It All Football on Twitter. KNOWITBA. Or wait. Oh, look at that. I'm getting tired. KNOWITFTBALL. Know It All Football on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. We are here on Spotify. You can find us on Podbean's website.
Like, share, follow, comment. Comment, people.
I do live tweet during the games for the AAF. I have been trying to be on there as much as possible to get any NFL offseason news out there. So please stay tuned, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.